Thanks so much for being with us here on ANF Plus. I'm Joy Lim Nakrin, joined today by attorney Holly Waltman. Thanks so much for being with us, Holly. So it is day 3 now of the murder trial for the killing of Laken Riley. It's Jose Ibarra who is on trial now, and he is the man who's accused of killing the nursing student on the UGA campus. You know, we have had a crew inside the courtroom since the start of this trial. The prosecution saying that it hopes to wrap up its case against Jose Ibarra by the end of today after calling more than a dozen witnesses since Friday. Our Sarah Hammond, Atlanta News First reporter, has been in Athens. She's been in the courtroom every single day of this trial. And she has more on what evidence the state showed today.
Well, the prosecution shared 20 minutes of trail camera video on the Millage Avenue extension showing a man who they say is Jose Ibarra, dressed in dark clothing, wandering around for about an hour. You then see Laken Riley run by on that fateful jog. And a couple of hours later, you see her roommates walking by looking for their friend. Day 3 of the trial started with a video showing who prosecutors believe is Jose Ibarra, wearing dark clothes and gloves, lurking by UGA graduate student housing. You can see the man holding a white styrofoam cup, tugging on the door to an apartment multiple times, and then disappear into the woods.
In the entire hour that this individual is around this area, does he ever talk to anyone?
No.
Ever engage with any person?
No.
Later, from that same camera, you can see Laken Riley running along the Millage Avenue extension holding her phone. Then 2 hours later, you can see 2 of Riley's roommates out with their dog looking for their friend. Riley's phone records show she briefly talked to her mother on the phone while out on that run. And starting just before 9:30 that morning, Laken's mom called and texted almost a dozen times, checking on her until just after 12 p.m., never receiving any responses.
She received a text message from her mother saying, "You're making me nervous, not answering while you're out running. Are you okay?"
Is that text read?
It is not.
Is that text answered?
It is not.
Prosecutors also showed video of Diego Ibarra showing up for work at Bolton Dining Hall on campus the day of the murder. At one point, you can see him putting on a blue jacket that prosecutors say is not the same one found in the dumpster at their apartment complex with Jose and Riley's DNA on it. The judge also said he will not be considering 2 pieces of evidence that were brought in yesterday. One was a music video. The second was a translated jail phone call between Jose Ibarra and his wife, where she is asking what happened to Riley. In Athens, Sarah Hammond for Atlanta News First.
All right, Holly, so you heard Sarah give that breakdown of what happened in court today. And again, she's been in that courtroom every single day since the start of the trial. It's day 3 now. First of all, what's your opinion on how the state is doing? Do you think that they're meeting their burden in this case?
So the state has had interesting, a few interesting witnesses in a row, a lot of which are professional witnesses, people that have been trained to testify and have great experience in testifying in cases like this. I think because it is a bench trial and we are presenting, as the state is presenting rather, to a judge, then I think they've done a great job logically laying out the science surrounding this circumstantial case.
Yeah, no, that's a great analysis there for us. So given that you think that the state has really done a good job of presenting its evidence, what do you think the defense needs to do at this point to really make a successful argument, make a successful case for their client?
Yeah, so certainly during their presentation, if we get presentation from them, which I believe we will, I think that they're going to really need to paint a completely different picture for their client. You've seen that on cross-examinations, they haven't been able to keep as many questions in as the state does on direct, and that's because, again, these are professional witnesses, that they're not going to get a lot of good facts for their version of events. I think they'll have to present not only an emotional case, but also a circumstantial case that presents doubt for this judge to possibly consider finding this defendant not guilty.
Yeah, you know, there's so much kind of emotion around this case, and that's part of the reason, you know, many analysts say that that the defense actually requested a bench trial, and that a bench trial was granted. And we know that this case became, you know, part of the national conversation about immigration and so forth. And then we heard as Sarah mentioned, there are a couple pieces of evidence that the judge said that he heard but is not going to consider, specifically a music video and a translated jail phone call between Jose Ibarra and his wife asking what happened to Laken Riley. So we know that in theory, with a bench trial, the judge is trained to be to be unbiased and really only decide based on the relevant facts and the law here. But the judge is hearing pieces of evidence that a juror would not hear. So what do you think is the reality of that? I mean, will the judge be somewhat swayed?
So certainly the defense's best shot at getting a fair trial, I believe, was also through the bench trial request. Now, the state also has to consent in the state of Georgia to have a bench trial in a case this serious. It's very rare. It's very unheard of to really request a bench trial for something as serious as a murder allegation. In this situation, anyone who has been in this Athens-Clarke County area or in that part of Georgia knows how beloved UGA is, how emotional this case is because of this sensitive nature of everything that happened. And so the judge is the best shot that the defense has at getting a fair trial and really putting the onus on him to be professional in his position of being fair, unbiased, and truly only applying the evidence as he sees it and as he believes it's credible to the law that applies in this case.
Yeah, and it's difficult to decide. I want to ask you, I mean, how common really is it to have a bench trial? I know it's rare, but how rare?
Yeah, it's super rare. And if out of 100 cases, really only 1 or 2 are going to go to any sort of trial. Most cases on this level are going to resolve short of a trial. Now you see more cases like murder, capital cases like rape, big cases like that. Those cases tend to go to trial more than something like a domestic violence case or a drug case. However, to have a bench trial on a murder case is almost unheard of.
Wow. So that said, one of the features of a bench trial is we know that it moves along much faster than with a jury trial. I guess there maybe isn't as much need for showmanship, if you will, right? And you don't have to do opening statements, closing arguments, have the long lunch recesses and afternoon and morning recesses and all that. The state, and we're only on day 3, the state is expected to wrap up their case today. So assuming the defense will start theirs tomorrow, how long is that going to last, do you think?
So I think we can expect something shorter than the state's presentation, right? They're going to try and get in there, be concise, get the points that they can across to the judge, and then sit down while they're kind of ahead, so to speak. We have way less people to navigate their schedules, and in a case like this, if the defense would have requested a jury trial, at day 3, we would probably only be scraping the top of jury selection. So in a jury trial setting for a case like this, we wouldn't have even probably heard opening statements yet.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the defense case, I mean, really their job is essentially just raise reasonable doubt. They don't have to basically prove he's innocent, but they have to prove that the prosecution hasn't met their burden, right?
Absolutely. That's certainly one of the ways that they're going to try and attack this case. And we got a preview of that in the defense counsel's opening statement where he said, Judge, this is circumstantial, and I believe that that is going to be the roadmap for where we see the defense lay out their case and what maybe wasn't done or was not done to a certain degree of certainty in the state's presentation.
I want to ask you about another feature of a bench trial in such a controversial case, and that is to do with anonymity, because jurors, we know, are anonymous. They're meant to be anonymous, and I know we in the media, we can't report on who is on the jury. We can't even show the jury when we're filming inside of the courtroom, and that's partly to kind of preserve their ability to be impartial so that they're not pressured by the public to come up with a certain verdict. Everybody knows who this judge is in this case, and the eyes of the nation are on this case right now. What do you think of that sort of pressure on the judge to make a ruling?
So this judge has been on the bench for quite a while. He is a seasoned veteran in this position. This is certainly not his first bench trial. This is certainly not his first murder trial. So I think that this judge is handling it well. I think that there hasn't been, like you mentioned earlier, any sort of showmanship because there's not really a jury to show off to. He's doing a nice job with a very tough case that is all of a sudden thrust him into media presence in a national setting. And I think that he is trying to remain neutral and remain in the middle and unbiased and unswayed until the evidence is actually complete, until it's actually closed, which will be after this defense rest.
Any final thoughts on this as we watch for the defense to lay out their case tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, we really just need to see the defense come out swinging and really putting up witnesses that undermine some of the science that the state has already established with this judge.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Attorney Holly Waltman, for sharing your analysis with us. Holly, if you don't mind, share a little bit about yourself and what kind of law that you practice, your practice areas.
Yeah, so we have a criminal defense law firm that services all of Atlanta, especially the metro Atlanta area. I have 2 offices, one in Forsyth, one in Cobb County. We travel anywhere that our clients need us, and we specialize in complex criminal defense matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Attorney Holly Waltman, for joining us with your analysis. And, just a reminder for our viewers, we're going to continue to follow the latest on the Laken Riley trial, the murder trial here. Of course, the defendant here, Jose Ibarra. But I really encourage you, if you haven't done so yet, downloading our free app, and you can get updates sent right to your phone so you'll know as soon as there is a verdict reached. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.